Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens. This is Jake along with Scott, and today we are excited to head south from Louisville to Gethsemane, Kentucky, to revisit Log Still. And it's been a while since we've been down here, and we are joined again by founder and creator of the brand, Wally Dant. So, Wally, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bourbon Lens.
Well, guys, thank you for being back here. I think, the first time you were out here, we had a vision. We didn't have a whole lot to see.
We were talking concrete and construction.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and we were, and it's so crazy, like, what can happen in 2 years. Like, it's amazing the transformation that this place has had over that 2-year transition since the last podcast in May of 2021.
Yeah, we a lot of hard work. I can certainly tell you that. I mean, we had 3 or 4 buildings, I think, under construction maybe at that time when you guys were here, and most of that is done. There's a few other things that we need to complete, but for the most part, the campus is at least done for now. They always ask me kind of what's the next turn, but we got a few more things to do, but yeah.
Yeah. The last time we were here, it was just a tasting room and a slab for what the distillery was going to be. And now there's a full operational distillery. There is the Log Still, at the legacy at Log Still that we are sitting in today, having this conversation, and many rick houses that have been built. So it is a full working distillery plus event venue plus amphitheater.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking at the time, and we were like, this will be a destination.
Mm-hmm.
And now 2 years later, it is.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's a lot to do here.
Yeah, so before we get to the whiskey concept, or in the piece de la resistance, right? There's a lot to cover. So let's talk lodging first. So there's many properties around the Log Still area and property. How many bed and breakfasts are you all up to now on the property?
So we have 5 currently, and then we are completing our 6th.
So if you are visiting Bardstown, people always say, where do I stay? What do I do? If you want a space where you can be not far away, but be away from the hustle and bustle, this is it, right? Like you're 14 miles away, so maybe a 20-minute drive, if that.
Yeah, 20 minutes from Bardstown,
yeah.
and or really E-Town or Elizabethtown.
Yeah,
we call it E-Town here.
Yeah, which is going to become a little bit of a hub of whiskey here in
the very near future.
And not so short order, right? And you're not far from Loretto. You're not far from Lebanon. So you can get to these bourbon epicenters. And Lebanon is on the rise. We just, caught up with Trey Zoller from Jefferson's, right?
Yep.
There's going to be a lot going on down there. And it's not just like one-offs, right? You can bring groups of people down here to these bed and breakfasts because you have some bigger, some smaller locations for people to stay in, right?
Yeah, we have a total of about 20 rooms right now throughout those 5 houses that we have. And so any one of them, 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom, we have a couple cottages on the lake as well. And so, what we've tried to do here is make it a place for people to come and stay, enjoy what we have here, certainly, but then, go out during the day, go to the rest of the Bourbon Trail that, like you said, is not far away from us. Maker's Mark is just right down the road, and be able to experience those things and then come back at night, right? Have a drink in our tasting room and, tuck yourself into bed.
There you go.
Or catch a concert.
Which leads us into the next thing. The amp has taken off, right? There's been, since we were here, the first concert was on the Precipice, which was Little Big Town, which sold out very quickly. And you've had many acts that have followed here. So I'm not going to ask you what's your favorite, but what was your most memorable moment at the amp so far with just guests coming through and different acts that have played the theater?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing that I see, right, is that from a community perspective, people that are coming back out here to Gethsemane, Kentucky, and seeing acts like Little Big Town or seeing Cheap Trick or Dionne Warwick, who we had here last weekend, when you begin to see acts like that in a rural setting like we're in, and it really brings folks out to something that they don't necessarily get, when you go into Louisville or Lexington and, either go to Rupp or Yum Center or things like that, because you're no further than 50 yards away from the stage at any one point in time. So you get this intimate feel of these national acts. And that's what we wanted. That's what we were intentional about with the size of the amphitheater, and to bring these acts who also enjoy that intimacy, because while they some of them can perform in these big arenas, most of them really love to see people react to their music. They get a charge out of that, right? It's their connection with their music, and they can see that here. And I think everybody, bar none, that have come out to be with us and play, have said, I was thinking I was coming out in the middle of nowhere and I didn't know what to expect. And they leave here saying, we'd love to play again. And so, when you have Dwight Yoakam and his team that have now been out here 2 years in a row, and they look to us and say, hey, we'd love to come back again. These are the cool things that you really begin to develop in your, from our campus and our experience perspective, but also, having that relationship with those artists that want to come back and play again because they had a great time here. That's a testament to all of our team that, performs what I call miracles every single show we have.
Yeah. And it's experience, because you have a place where people can enjoy the concert, but enjoy a little bit of fun afterwards as well. And Michael, the tasting room host that we had today, was talking about it's great to see people come up to the window, order a full cocktail, or if they're celebrating in the concert afterwards with a few drinks. It's become a big party and a big kind of rallying cry for people in the area to come and enjoy some music.
Yeah. They used to call them field parties around here, right? And so we try to have that relaxed atmosphere where folks can come and have a great time, be safe, and be safe and go home. And we on the way out, we hand everybody a bottle of water, right? And it's just our way of saying thanks, and be careful, and come back again. And I think our sense of community has really been instilled here with our team and our surrounding community. And while we get people that come in from Louisville, and we get people that come in from Lexington, and people are beginning to understand what we're doing here, it's really cool to see, friends and family come out to a show and go, I just love it out here. I love coming.
Yeah. I mean, you can't beat that. And the last part before we get into the last thing that's been built before the last construction project would be the Legacy, which we're sitting in right now. We're sitting in the groom's suite. I wish this was here 6 years ago when my wife and I got married, because this is great. It's open. It's all in one spot. The groom suite's a bunch of open couches. The bridal suite, shout out to the team that designed it, because every bride would want that. Large mirrors, lots of light, a giant mirror you can see yourself in before you get out there and be like, oh, got makeup on my teeth. Got to fix that. But it's a hell of a place, and not only for a wedding, but for a conference, right? If you're a corporation in the Louisville, Bardstown, Lexington, E-Town area, this would be a place that, if I had a company, I'd want to be here.
Especially,
it's been, and people are discovering us, right? So we actually had a group that came up from Tampa, Florida, a company down there, and they had probably about 30 people that stayed on campus and used the facilities here. And it's just, again, a great way to build, teams. And, when you can do that and, work hard, do strategy planning or whatever it is that you're doing, and then, be able to have a tasting at a distillery, and you're at the distillery. And, and then we have this whole hospitality end of things where we've got Chef Dave Danielson, who was at Churchill Downs and joined our team. That guy knows how to either do it big, or can bring it down and do an intimate dinner for 20 people and really show them a great time. And so when you're able to do those activities, combine that with whatever you're doing from a sales or a conference perspective, it really works out, I think, really well for those companies that have experienced it. And certainly we love to see that here every single day.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my boss we need to come out here.
Yeah. Legal conference.
Yeah. We just need to get together.
We need to get together. And I know the perfect place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably use a little booze.
Yeah.
Well, we had Frost Brown Todd, for instance. They had a whole group that came out here.
Yeah.
All their what I call newbies, coming out.
All the associates are going to work long hours.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
But for them, it was Churchill Downs. Who would have thought Churchill Downs would have closed down suddenly like they did with and trying to figure out what was going on there, and then we were able to take in some of those folks and accommodate them, and so it's those things that I think we're working towards, and people are beginning to understand what we're doing out here, and that's the exciting thing. Every year and every month you're seeing people embracing kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And what another person that's kind of embraces me, we were chatting a little bit about on the tour, is another podcast that we had guest earlier in the year, Jeff Hotmayer from B&amp Group, right? It's nice probably to have someone who's like that is doing things on such a large scale from a source and whiskey perspective. What's it like to have a partner that's helping, you all and being involved so much here at Log Still, especially from building a rick house, because those things aren't cheap anymore.
No, they're not. Our partnership with B&amp Group is, I can't tell you how much it's meant for our company. Jeff's great, knowledgeable. He's his partner in it, Jeff Steinberg, as well. I mean, those guys, are really just good people to bounce ideas off of, because they've been in the business. They understand what's going on from a marketplace perspective. And so to be able to have those guys here and be able to, call on them and talk to them at any one point in time, it's great for a new distillery to have, because a lot of us, while we may have grown up in the business and had been in part of it or around it, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, you hear people go, "Wow, I think I'd like to build a craft distillery," and we all enter it with all these thoughts about how's it going to be, what's it going to be like, and all of that. And at the end of the day, this is a business, and you have to treat it as such, because ultimately, I'm not going to be here, right? One of these days, I'll pass from this place, and you don't want to leave something behind that looks like a piece of junk. I may have said shit. You may call that out, but you don't want to leave behind that for a family, right?
Yeah.
So if you're handing it down to your family, and then all of a sudden they go, "Well, what the hell was Dad doing?" Right? So you got to treat it as a business and go, "Yeah, profitability is a good thing." And how do you do that? And how do you make sure that ultimately your brand, and you guys I think you guys just had a podcast not too long ago that you put on there about branding and things like that. It was interesting. So thank you for doing that. I listened to it.
Yeah.
And, but it's one of those things that you just, you have to focus and concentrate on, and there's capital involved. A lot of capital.
A lot of capital. And not only did you all take capital from a distillery perspective, you all took capital from a destination perspective, which is a whole up your game level, right? And that's awesome. And so we've hit on a lot of the things. There is one thing that is under construction before we get to what I say is the piece de la resistance, the distillery. There's one project I'm excited about, because my tummy is always rumbling, is the visitor center and the new restaurant. So, that's kind of the last hurrah thing for now, right?
Right.
So what should people expect as they see that kind of get put together over the next year or so?
You saw the structure. So the structure's built. So that's the good news. So in essence, we just have to put a skin on it and make the interior look like what we want it to look like. Restaurants are hard.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's told me restaurants are really hard. but what we're trying to do is make it as user friendly as possible for folks that are out on the trail, and so when they're out on, whether they're on the craft tour or the bourbon trail, we're trying to, and you got buses that come in, and how do you handle buses that come in? And so Dave, given all of his level of experience, whether it's been there or the UN or Super Bowl or wherever else, he knows what he's doing and how to, gear up for some of those things. And so what we're hoping is that those folks that are doing that, in addition just to our neighbors and friends that are out there, will come and experience something that is good for them and that gets them back out and out on the road and on the trail as quickly as they can, because I think as an industry and as a bourbon trail, there's not a whole lot of those opportunities to do those things at any sort of scale. And so we're hoping that, our place is one of those places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm excited. I can't wait. I love to eat.
You love to talk about food too.
I love to talk about food. And the reason I love to talk about food is because after my wife, food is number 2, and then my kids. I got to be able to sustain before I hang out with those gremlins.
Yeah, need your calorie intake.
Exactly. Man can't live on bread alone, nor whiskey, but he can be sustained by it.
What Bible verse was that?
That's from the book of Jacob.
The book of Jacob. There you go.
That didn't make it into the
didn't make it into the official version.
Official version, yeah. The good Catholics have that one.
No, yeah. Right. Thumbing through, trying to find it.
Yeah, just keep thumbing. It's only one verse. It's that one. But last time we were here, there was a slab of cement, and we were like, look, there's going to be a distillery, and now there is one. So there's a lot of hard work and dedication that's gone into building that. Talk to us a little bit about just the infrastructure of someone who hasn't come out here. What kind of still in elements would they expect to see here at Log Still?
Yeah, the distillery itself, we wanted it to look and feel like the old distillery. So that building that we have there that houses the column still and all the fermenting tanks is basically on the same footprint of what the old bottling house was. That was here before, and so the architecture, that domed roof structure that we have there, we really wanted it to mimic what was here from an old distilling perspective that we had to take down. And so people will walk into it and, see wood and see a wood ceiling and things like that necessarily a lot of the other distilleries don't have, because it was set up more industrial necessarily than what we have. And while we do the same functions, we have a column still, a 24-inch column still. We've got the doubler, we've got 12 fermenting tanks that are sitting in there, and roughly we can produce 22 to 24,000 barrels a year on a 24/7 basis in the distillery. We really wanted folks to go, wow, I hadn't seen something like this out on the trail, and experience kind of what we have and what we're doing there. And so it's, again, our focus, while certainly on production and it's really important to us, the other side of it is we really wanted people to go, hey, I hadn't seen something like this. And that was really intentional on our part to make it a place that people go, hey, I could even take some pictures in here and it's going to look pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I that's the way I felt. I mean, I walked in, the first thing I looked at the ceiling, like you mentioned, it's like, that's wood up there. Now I feel like I'm in a log. Oh, okay. Log Still, got it.
The nice part too, I'm not the tall guy, but the nice part too, it's not like, watch your head. Don't step there. Watch out for that. Like, of course there's the, don't touch that. That's really hot. But it's not like cramped, and like when you take pictures, you can see the size and scale of it. Mm-hmm. And you can see the whole production.
Right. Yeah. And where your legacy distilleries, nobody way back in the day ever thought we would be where we are today from a bourbon tourism perspective. So in many respects, you're following giants that are coming into that, but then we have the ability to do things that the other guys can't do because of their constraints. And so we were pretty intentional about, making sure that our visitors are, one, safe when they're walking around, but two, begin to have these experiences that necessarily you can't get somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was one of the things we went to a heritage brand in Tennessee not too long ago, and I appreciate the fact that there's tall ceilings, because we had a couple taller people on the group, and they're like, "Jake, you can walk first." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks. I see what you're doing here." Really appreciate that.
Test subject.
Yeah,
little lobotomy going on every once in a while.
Just duck. I feel like I was a boxer, like walking through the distillery. Yeah, and so you've now kind of recreated what was happening here in a new and modern way, right? So for you just personally, what's in your family, right? Because your family's all involved. What's that like to kind of have this kind of feel like it was when you were growing up?
I probably don't take enough time to reflect.
Yeah. Well, because you're a good fiscally responsible individual. It's all about, making sure that the kids don't have a dump on the back end.
That's right. But you feel it from either the family or the community when they come up and say, "Hey, we appreciate what you've done out here," right? Because you've taken something that was old ruins, basically, and turned it into something new again. We had the old distillery had 200 people working for it back in the early 60s before it shut down. And when you get 200 jobs in rural America that just go away,
yep,
right? I mean, that's just a huge impact on the community that we were in. And you go up to Louisville or you go to Frankfurt, which is where those jobs went to. And they don't come back, right? And so then you get into this cycle of well, my kids don't have anywhere to work when they grow up, so where are they going to go? They go to Louisville, right? And so you get this graying of rural America, which is what we've seen happen, and for us, in trying to build back up community, we're just a small part of that process, but we wanted to be a part of that down here in southern Nelson County. And so that's why we chose to be here. And I think that's where, from a reflection perspective, I get more of that coming from people that are either living here, working here, that come up and say, or family members that come up and say thanks.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably my time of, from a reflection perspective.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like Gethsemane is like the booming hub of the job market right now.
Most people have a hard time pronouncing.
That's right.
And I would have if I didn't practice a few times before I came down, looked in the mirror
on the trip down.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. Like I love when things, like as you mentioned, are old and become new, and the community can experience that. Speaking in that same vein, what's it like working with family, right? Like, having, your all's cousins and bringing that relationship to the distillery. From the distillation process, we get to meet her, and Charles, we get to meet him, and yourself. What's it like just to be able to work with family so closely?
I don't recommend it. No. No, I mean, look, having Lynn and Charles, and we've got other family members that are a part of, our, whether they're cousins or whatever.
Yeah.
We've got a few other Dants that are working here now. It's great because there's this whole buy-in process that you really don't have to go through, right? Yep. And because they're so bought into this and committed to it, and we all come at it from different expertise and lenses, and so it's just not Wally deciding something. It's not just Lynn that's deciding something or Charles that's deciding something. It's collectively, we try to make collective decisions around, what we do and the inputs that come into that. And I think that's probably the cooler thing for me, as the leader of the organization, is to have those guys come at it and talk about, what their idea is for this. And collectively, we make better decisions because of that, I think, because we just don't get in this whole groupthink mentality and, everybody thinking the same way. And I think that's probably the most important thing is, and I've learned it, whether it was in this business or other businesses that I've had, is you hire the best people you can, hire people smarter than yourself. And when you can do that, you're collectively going to be a hell of a lot better off because you have a lot of smart people that are, going after the same goal.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a ton of sense. And, recently you all were just able to release your first contracted distillate into the marketplace in the small batch, right? Mm-hmm. So what's it like to now, I know you've sourced previously with like Rattlesnap and some of your other products, and you've always been creating gin. But what's it like to have that first, hey, we helped create this mash bill and see that in a bottle, because it was really damn good.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably the most satisfying, right? Because while we of course didn't make it here on campus, we had a part in that with our contract producer, and to be able to turn that out for the first time. And, next year you're actually going to see a rye whiskey come out, and you're going to see another high rye bourbon come out in that same price point perspective. And that's, I guess, probably as equally satisfying that we're turning out product that we've put out, but at the same time, we're putting out a product that people can afford to buy. Mm-hmm. And while we have, premium or super premium pricing on some of our higher and older stuff, to be able to have a $40 some odd bottle of bourbon from a craft distiller, we think is a great price point. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. But we know we're going to turn out that 4-year-old stuff as kind of what we call our base products, which is, we're going to have that wheated small batch wheated. We'll have a small batch high rye, and then we'll have a small batch rye. And, those are going to be our base products in addition to the gins that we have out there. And then we'll have fun experimenting around that and releasing, just like we released our 5th District Series 2, which you guys tasted, I think, for the first time today. And, so when we can do fun things like that, I think those are things that, I think everybody, hopefully can get excited about.
Yeah. I know I get excited about when you see the hard work that you all have put in to create the brand, and now see the actual liquid show up that you all have had a hand in. It's really cool to see that handoff and what that's like. And if I'm a betting man, I'm sure there's some bottled and bond in the downstream idea marker there, just to keep along with the family legacy there.
Well, whether it was my great grandfather, a lot of them did that bottle and bond stuff. As everybody knows, generally speaking, Log Still Distillery neither owns nor has any affiliation with J.W. Dant Distilled Spirits. That they had bottled and bond when bottled and bond came out, and they continue to have that today, and with the guys that are making it today. And so, we're proud of our history and everything that goes along with that, but yet that history doesn't define who we are. Yep. And we're making our own history today. And, we're excited about the products that we have. Yeah. Lynn and her team are doing an exceptional job on our own distillate that we're doing today. We can replicate what was really done here at the old distillery because we got the same water source. We know the yeast that was used. So we're pretty excited about, doing our stuff and turning that out at some point in time.
I was going to say, when we're back in 2 more years, it'll be about the same time as
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and there'll be rick houses that we have to drive to go see, and there'll be a lot more whiskey to drink.
Probably a few more bed and breakfasts.
Yeah, I'll probably need to lay my ass down because I'll be full from food.
That's right.
It'll all be good. It'll all be good. So you talked a little bit about the 5th District series, but we're gonna go to Scott's first love here for a second. Let's talk about the gin, because you're a gin drinker yourself.
I am.
And when you all came up with this concept, did you always think you would have a gin?
Yeah, we did. We when we started out initially, we knew we were going to do gin. I felt one, I like it, so that was certainly an impetus for us. But from a distiller's perspective, you can really have fun making gin because of the botanical set that you use, can experiment around on. It just allows for creativity. And as a distiller, I think getting instant, right, knowledge about what that tastes like, you can do that with gin. Now, bourbon, you hope to God, that you won, that it comes out right on the white dog side of things, and then it goes into barrel, and you're going, well, I knew it tasted good going in. Let's see what's happening with that magic in that barrel. And we think, but 4 years later, right? At least 4 years later. And so, and then depending on where it comes out of the rick house, all of those, there's so many variables. Well, gin, you know immediately what you're getting. And so that's the cool side about gin is that you can experiment and you kind of know immediately what you got.
Yeah.
And not to say that you can't understand that on the whole brown water side, but with that you can. And a lot of times we're asked, well, why didn't you do vodka? And you can always do the Fred Minnick thing. Vodka sucks.
Easy. Yeah.
But for us, and then you got to think at it from a business perspective. Vodka is a crowded category. I'm a craft distiller. I put out a vodka. If I put out a vodka, how can I compete against when people go, well, I can buy this handle of Tito's for $19.99. I can buy your 750 for $25.99. How does that work? And you go, well, there's a difference. Flavor, vodka doesn't have flavor, right? And so for us, it was an easy decision to make because we thought we could compete on the gin side of things. We thought we could compete with our botanical set that we put on both of those, that barrel finished gin as well as that dry gin, and so we think it's turned out great. We hope everybody. If you're a gin lover out there, you'd enjoy our dry gin. If you're not a gin lover, try our barrel finished gin, and you'll become a gin lover.
I know it doesn't get a lot of attention, but in terms of mash bill for the base gin, is it a corn?
It's a corn.
Yeah, so it's
it's a GNS
Kentucky style gin, right?
Yeah. That good Kentucky style gin.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of options for what you could use, but yeah.
There is, but we chose a corn, and we enjoy it.
Well, I think it adds like an oiliness to the gin that sometimes gins just get lost in the glass.
Well, the first time I ever had gin like neat was in Lebanon at Limestone Branch. And they do a corn-based gin, and I immediately bought a bottle. And the same thing with this. Like we tried it here last time a couple years ago, and went home, bought a bottle. It's like one of those things. Like, I can get behind this. And you enjoy a gin every now and again, probably more often than you tell us on the podcast. But what was your thoughts? From your perspective, because I know you have the barrel aged gin at home.
Yeah, I mean, last time we were here, I bought all the barrel aged gin. I like that they're two different botanical sets. Like they aren't just we took our gin and just barrel aged it. Now compare them. It's two base, two different, unique,
Two different.
base spirits. But I mean, the dry gin is not like what you would think of like a London dry. You're not getting like a punch of juniper.
Yeah.
You're getting it in the background because it's got to be there. That's one rule.
Yep, that's right.
Of gin. The rest are, pretty wide open in terms of what
you can use.
Botanicals. But the citrus, I mean, it's just a summertime gin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we use a lot in cocktails, pre-made cocktails, actually, for our amphitheater and what we call our Rickhouse Row area there at the amp, and it's become a popular item for folks to come up, grab a cool drink, because Kentucky summers can be hot.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And even though
they have been
right, even though our shows are at night, it's still a little warm out there.
Yeah.
And so for them to, be able to pick up a nice cold gin drink, a lot of folks certainly do that.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's get into, the sourced part of this, right, is Tennessee whiskey, right? So you have the Rattlesnap line, and that's grown and changed, I think, a little bit over the years. There's new packaging since the last time we saw it. Why Tennessee whiskey?
Yeah, they make it for us down there. Why Tennessee whiskey? I lived there for 20 some odd years, which is as long as I've lived anywhere in my entire almost 60 years of existence, and so that was certainly one reason. And then it's good whiskey.
Yeah,
and I wanted to have, most of my kids, with the exception of my oldest son, are all in Tennessee still and live there and, have their respective lives there. And so I didn't think we would have one, right? And while, you get questions, well, you're a Kentucky distillery, why would you have a Tennessee whiskey? Ask Brown-Forman that. And while I'd love to, be as big as Jack Daniel's one of these days. It's a really great product that, I've always enjoyed Tennessee whiskey. My dad was a Tennessee squire in his lifetime, and so for me, having a Tennessee whiskey, even though we were a Kentucky distillery, made sense. We had fun with that Rattle and Snap brand, and and outside of the two rival states, Tennessee and Kentucky, when you get out into the other states, and we're distributed now, and as of today, 8 states. We just launched in South Carolina. People look and say, "Hey, I like this." Whether it's done in Kentucky or Tennessee, they don't distinguish like we do here in Kentucky and Tennessee, right? They don't distinguish it as much, I should say. And so for them, they're looking at it saying, "Hey, this is a great corn forward, sweet, nice, smooth whiskey." And so that 4-year-old Rattle and Snap or the 8-year-old Rattle and Snap that we had on the marketplace today, the cool thing you can do with those is just see what age does to that whiskey, and so it's it's pretty cool to be able to talk with people and hear different opinions about what they like and why they like it.
Yeah. No, I really liked the 8-year Rattle and Snap today, because it got rid of the traditional, Lincoln County process some, right? It got you more of what the barrel does, right? Because the distillate will only take you so far, but the barrel will give you more and more. So it was really fun to do those side by side and see the age and the difference on them. And so we highlighted it. So it'll be a wheated bourbon for you all, a high rye bourbon, and a rye whiskey. For your rye whiskey, will it be more Kentucky style, or will it be that 95.5?
No, it'll be more Kentucky style.
Nice.
Yeah. And while I enjoy 95.5, I just felt for our taste profile and what we wanted to put out, we really wanted that better a better blend.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
Amen. Hallelujah. Book of Jacob.
I mean, and you've tasted it. I mean, there are some great 95.5s.
Oh, for sure.
And then there's some that you go, wow.
I'd rather go cut grass.
That's right.
Yeah. No, that's definitely something Scott gets on that. And so while we've highlighted the entire portfolio here, I think the important question is, you're focused on the future because it's growing the brand and developing the brand. So what is next for Monk's Road over the next 2 years?
Well, certainly, with that 5th District series is a limited series. And so we'll continue to change that as we, run out. So generally we're thinking those 5th District series, we're on series 2, will last about a year. And then we'll bring in a new one. And this is where, having the ability to have Lynn and that team really kind of develop their own, which she took a really great base bourbon that's that 8-year-old bourbon of ours and be able to, bring out new flavors and nuances with that toasted barrel, the secondary toasted barrel process. And that's what is going to be cool about that. And then ultimately we'll have some of our own recipes that we'll be able to put out. And those things, I think are going to be the cool side of kind of what we do. And we, who knows what we're going to do with the Tennessee whiskeys as well. And so, you can begin to experiment around with that. And so having Tennessee whiskey and Kentucky bourbon and the stocks that we have in our inventory allow us to do a lot with. And so I think those are the cool things that you're going to see us kind of play around with.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting to see, the opportunities that are in front of you all from a crafting perspective, because while you still are, it's a large scale distillery, it's still considered craft, right? Like,
yeah, we're on the high, maybe what you call the high end of craft.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you think about Wilderness Trail was on the craft side of things, and eventually they became part of the bourbon trails as they aged over. I guess I think that category is like 50,000 barrels aging, and so it doesn't take too long if you're producing 22 to 24,000 barrels to be in that non-craft category.
Yeah,
but we're still small enough to where we can experience we're not so production oriented to where we can't do something small. And I think that's probably the key to what we were trying to do here, is to really, I want to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, sure, business is about profitability and things like that, but it's also about having a good time and having fun. And so if you set up your company that way, and set up the experience for your guests that way, those are the things that probably excite me more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Wally, we appreciate the tour, the time today. And I have one thing to say is, get your butt down to Gethsemane and at least check it out, whether it's for a concert, a tour, a tasting, a venue.
Train ride. You can take a train ride.
Take a train ride. Yep. Wedding crash.
Too. That's new since we've been here too.
Yeah.
Take a train in.
Yeah. You can do a lot of cool things here that will bring you back, but also bring you forward. It's a taste of history with a view of the future. So I love that kind of dynamic for you. And now in 8 states. So what 8 states are you all distributed in?
So South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.
Of course.
Kentucky. Yeah. Didn't want to leave out.
Didn't want to leave out our home state here.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good branding. Well, again, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Your team's been awesome. I think that's the one thing people will definitely get here is hospitality. and you will feel like you are part of the family here. And so we truly appreciate that. And we wish you nothing but success as you all continue to build out the restaurant and the visitor center. As always, everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of The Bourbon Lens. We truly appreciate it. Again, make sure you come down to Log Still. It's a great adventure. If you want to follow more about Bourbon Lens, go over to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. And last but not least, we want to say thank you to our Patreon followers and subscribers. If you want to join that community, go over to patreon.com/Bourbon Lens. We would love to have you there and be a part of that community. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen.